Okay, so as I spoke about yesterday, here is my game versus Trudy. You can see our teams on the screen here. My team's the team that I spoke about yesterday. Well, it won't be yesterday by the time this comes out, but you know what I mean. So Trudy's team is Lapras, G-Fisk, Venusaur, Frostlass, Gliscor, Medicham. And straight away, I'm noticing that Gliscor is a huge problem for me, unless I get it lined up against the Frostlass. But what I'm also seeing is that Venusaur's got a lot of play versus a lot of things here. So I'm going to try and build a line that to begin with that's going to use a Venusaur as a sort of safe swap. And to do that, my lead needs to be beating Frostlass, Stunfisk, and Lapras if I can, which Scrafty does. Now, there's on the face of it, there's problems with the Scrafty lead, because what happens if Trudy leads Gliscor, which is, a sensible lead on her part because I'm so weak to it. Well, the thing about Scrafty is that it's resisting Night Slash and it's bulky, so I know that in my head, if she leads Gliscor, I can stay in, just go straight for foul plays to try and chunk it away, not shield anything, because it'd be dreadful if I shield a Night Slash, and then I'll leave her low enough so that I can farm her a lot with Frostlass, then take a shield advantage off the next thing, and then hopefully go through a Venusaur. Use Venusaur with a shield advantage to go through two things in the back, which is not a foolproof plan by any means, but as far as losing the lead hard goes, it's a pretty good one, because I can't switch straight into Frostlass, because it's my only proper Gliscor switch in, and I think she's likely to have Lapras or G-Fisk in the back to just bring into Frostlass anyway. Similarly, a Venusaur lead will be an issue for me because I don't have any switch-ins to Venusaur in the back. But again, I can play out the zero shields, lose it fairly narrowly because I'll be tanking a frenzy plan and I'll be hitting hard with a foul play, and then I can come in, farm with Frostlass, put the shield pressure on that way, and then try and use Venusaur again to go through with the shield, the back to the shield advantage. So I've got plans for lots of different situations here, and as long as I stick to my plan, I think I'm in with a shot. So let's see what happens. I lead Scrafty into Gliscor, so really bad, but I've got my plan. So I'm staying in and I'm going to go for foul plays. So she's going to farm up to the Earthquake. So as I say, that's in a big chunk. And so she's right. I'm going to pause this here. So I feel like she's farmed past Earthquake now, and that makes me think that if I do shield this, especially given the health that she's on, if I do shield this, I can switch into Frostlass, given the range of health she's at. Switch into Frostlass and farm it down. So I make a critical mistake here of changing my plan mid-game. I should just be sticking to my plan. So as we see, I will shield this. And of course it's a Night Slash, which is terrible for me. But as I say, I'm going to go for the Frostlass switching and get the farm down. So I'm feeling okay. Now, so I was right. She's got a hard Frostlass counter in the back. But we know how hard Frostlass hits, so Avalanches can do a lovely chunk. And I can't go 2 shields down, that would be disastrous, so I'm going to let this one through. Especially now that the main thing I want Frostlass to kill is gone in the Glasgow, so I'll let that one through, and I get another. I think I'm gonna get a shield here. Yeah, so I get the shield. Now I'm going to pause it here. So Trudy opts to save the G-Fisk with a bit of energy, and that's really smart. And now she's 1 powder snow ahead of me as well, which means that there's no possibility that Venusaur is going to win CMP versus Frostlass, which is tough. Now I know Frostlass, I know Scrafty is ahead on energy of Frostlass currently, so I can get to 2 foul plays before the Frostlass can get to 2 avalanches. So really, I should be going into Scrafty, but I am concerned about that. The energy that the Sunfisk has got saved in the back, so I'm going to try and keep Scrafty alive here, and I'm going to go to Venusaur, and then I'm going to try and switch Scrafty in. So I'm going to go to Venusaur to get a little bit of energy, then switch to Scrafty, and still try and switch at a point where I'm still going to be ahead on energy. So that's my plan. And at this point I decide, well, I may as well just stay in and try and catch a charge move, which I do, but then obviously I either have to shield here or I die. So I choose to die, and I've gone away from my plan once again. Now there's still the possibility that Venusaur can run through things. So let's see how that plays out. I've now got a huge energy advantage. Now what I need to do here is go to 2 Frenzy Plants, because I know there's the stored energy, but I don't. And again, it would seem sensible on the face of things to throw that energy here and save the health. But what use is that health? Because I know she's got a Rock Slide saved. So what I needed to do was go straight up for the charge up for the 2 Frenzy Plants versus Frostlass and risk dying to the Powder Snows, because ultimately that's still a loss. Yeah, that was my win condition, was to go up to 2 Frenzy Plants there. So didn't even go for the win condition. Now you can see I've not got much health left. Probably would have died to 2 Powder Snows as it happens. But yeah, got to go for these win conditions when you find them. And ultimately, as I watch this back now, it was silly not going into Scrafty straight away, I think. So yeah, I made quite a mess of that first game, really. But again, got to compliment and praise Trudy on the energy management and saving the Stunfisk with a bit of energy, because that's come in handy there. Yeah, so we'll just finish this. And there we go, Venusaur goes down to the Stunfisk. I think what's interesting to note there is that I played myself into a position where I was trying to sack Scrafty to the Frostlass. Now at that point, given that the game got to that stage, surely I'd have been better off just sacking the Scrafty to the Gliscor in the first place, and being able to play my initial plan, my initial strategy. Yeah, because if you've got if you feel like at some point you're going to need to sacrifice something and you get an opportunity to do it easily, like I did at the beginning, where it was a low risk attempt at straight. It wasn't like I was trying to switch into catch a charge move or anything, which I could quite easily have missed, and then got over farmed. I could have just let it go and then come in, and Frostlass would have come in with Frostlass to farm, and that's a fairly safe way to sack something because I'm definitely going to get an advantage out of it. And I kind of knew from the beginning that I was going to need to sack something in this game, so I should have just done it right at the beginning as well. So that's something interesting to note because that pops up again in the third game. So let's get into game 2. I'm keeping the Venusaur. This time I'm going to lead Frostlass, thinking that Gliscor lead's so good. Maybe I overthought it a bit in game 1. I'm just going to lead Frostlass to try and counter a potential Gliscor lead. If she leads Lapras or G-Fisk, I can potentially do a bit of damage with Frostlass and then switch out, or try and save a shield and try and gain a shield advantage somewhere to try and run through with Gallade. Now the reason I'm bringing Gallade this game is because let's say I get a bad lead and opt to switch to Venusaur. I would suggest a sensible decision for Trudy to then counter swap to Gliscor, knowing that it's fairly solid versus Venusaur and she's keeping it away from the Frostlass. Now in doing that, I'm sort of luring out the main Gallade counter that Trudy has. I'll be able to come in with Frostlass after the Venusaur Gliscor matchup, farm a bit of energy and then try and gain a shield advantage. So again, try and run through something in the back with Gallade. So again, there's plans for the sort of worst case scenario, but let's have a look what happens. So it's a mirror lead, and this is bad for me because I don't have a hard Frostlass counter anywhere, so I know I have to play aggressively here, so I'm going to go straight for the bait. And I get the bait, which is huge. I'm able to sneak a Powder Snow in there again, which is also huge, because now I'm essentially 2 Powder Snows ahead, given that she's Shadow Ball, so I can sneak a Powder Snow in there before going for the Shadow Ball. So I'll take down Trudy's Frostlass. Interesting here, I go straight into into Venusaur on the G-Fisk, knowing that I've got a really good IV Venusaur or a decent IV Venusaur, and that tends to win the ones versus G-Fisk. But this is also a really good opportunity for me to get a shield advantage if she shields first. So I don't really want to be shielding. Earthquakes. Now that switch from Trudy was interesting. I feel like she should have gone straight for the Rock Slide rather than switching, because I had more health at that point, so I might have been more tempted to shield a Rock Slide than shield this Ice Punch, or what I'm assuming is going to be an Ice Punch. Because now I've got less health, less reason to keep the Venusaur alive, and I'm at a shield advantage still. I come in with Frostlass, a fairly good wall to Medicham. Don't want to let the Medicham get damage on me or potentially kill me with a Psychic before I get damage on the Medi, so I'm going to go for the Avalanche knowing it won't kill. And again, I'm going to let this go to a Psychic. Or again, what I'm assuming is a Psychic. And then Gallade comes in, gets the one Confusion at lead, which it's so deadly with, and of course I'm a shield up. So that's game That's game 2, so we're at 1-1 going into a decider. Okay, so into the decider, and again I'm going to stick to the Frostlass lead to try and catch that Gliscor, and I'm going with a super aggressive line here. Gallade and Blaziken in the back, as you can see. So it's absolutely crucial that I'm able to save the Frostlass for a potential Gliscor. Gallade, if it gets a confusion advantage, can win the zeros versus Gliscor. If I go for the close combat, so there's that as a win con as well. So yeah, I feel like here, if she leads anything other than the Gliscor, I'm going to go straight into Gallade to try and force a shield advantage, which I can then make use of with either Frostlass or Blaziken to turn the game around, because they both hit incredibly hard, to be honest. So again, got my game plan. Let's see what I do. So I lead Frostlass into Venusaur, which you'd expect would be a decent lead. But as I say, it's not Gliscor. So I'm actually going to switch out, and I'm going to go into Gallade. I get my confusion lead. I get two confusion leads, and that actually makes me change my mind. And rather than going for the close combat, I'm going to try and get to 2 Leaf Blades instead. So I don't get the shield first time round because I didn't go up for the close combat, which was a mistake. And now I'm going to pause this. Now Trudy's able to get to a charge move before she's either A, died to a close combat, or B, used the shield of her own. And this is bad for me because I've not achieved what I was planning on achieving with Gallade. So what I should be doing here is probably letting this go, farming with the Frostlass, taking a shield advantage off whatever comes in next, or if that thing that comes in next is a hard Frostlass counter like Lapras or G-Fisk, leaving it within farming range of Blaziken, which will then use the energy advantage to overcome the Venusaur. So even though I've played it poorly, I've still got a win con. But I choose to ignore that win con and a shield, knowing that I can, or thinking that I can get the confusion down, which I can, and again thinking that I'll be able to get a shield back by going for a close combat, which again I can. So again, you might not think this is a terrible position because I've got switch advantage now and we're in the even shields, but now I think this screen is damning. I'm now in a situation where I'm down energy advantage quite heavily to a Frostlass, and my mons in the back are Frostlass and Blaziken, neither of which are known for their ability to win matches at an energy disadvantage. So I'm going to have to, at one point, try and sack one of them, as I did in the first game. Now, given that, why didn't I just sack the Gliscor? The Gallade to the Gliscor. That would have been safer, it would have saved me a shield. Maybe that would have been the play. And I'd have probably then been at an energy lead with my Frostlass as well, which would have then resulted in the energy lead or the shield advantage for the Blaziken, as I say. So I've made a mess here. So what my plan is, I think, is to go into Frostlass, try bait, and then try and catch an avalanche with Blaziken. That's going to be my play. I feel like I have to shield. I think about not shielding. I leave it right to the very last second, but eventually I choose to shield. So I go for my bait. And this is something I absolutely hate doing. I absolutely hate baiting with Frostlass in this situation. So now, can I catch the... No, it doesn't quite go through for me. But even then, I've still got a bit of an energy lead. Yeah, as I said, still got an energy lead, and it should be enough. So I'm going to overfarm as much as I can, go for the Shadow Ball, but she gets the spot, she gets the stack at just the right time. And so there was a lot of swearing at this point, because now I'm not quite going to be able to reach the avalanche, which I think probably kills from there. Where she is able to get to the Shadow Ball. So, yeah. I think, so obviously I lost this game 2-1. But there was win cons there. Sort of all the way through, really. And I think when you've got, and this is what I sort of like about this team of 6 of mine, is that it's so aggressive that there's often going to be chances for me to get back on the front foot, rather than sort of playing catch up. And you know, I'm trying to make my opponent worry more about me than I'm worrying about my opponent. And I think this team does that. Yeah, but yeah, certainly think there's lots to take from this. I think it certainly shows the importance of having a plan and sticking to it, and that's relevant in any cup, but certainly in a cup where it's so fast-paced and aggressive like this, you've got to be decisive. Like we saw here in some of these games, that I often had 2 routes to victory, sometimes arguably even 3 in the first game. And if I'd have just picked one and stuck to it, would have had a good chance of winning. Because I went a little bit down one path and then swapped, and then went a little bit down there and then swapped again. It sort of fell through a bit, really. But you know, live and learn and all that, I guess. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and yeah, catch you later.